The NBA season is currently in the All-Star break, with the league set to resume games on Wednesday. As teams return to the hardwood, there is a lot of basketball to be played and a lot to look forward to. Before that, we're here to talk about how the second half of the season will unfold. Welcome back to Penn State Sports Night. I'm Nate Johns, joined by Michael Hession and Alec Brown to take a look at how the NBA season will play out. The trade deadline has come and gone, and some teams have made some massive additions to their team for the stretch run. Which player that was moved at the deadline will have the biggest impact on their new team? Alec, I'll start with you.
Well, Nate, when you look at all the moves that happened at the deadline, there's no bigger trade that's happened in the NBA than Luka Doncic going to the Los Angeles Lakers. This is such a great pickup for the team. First of all, he looks incredible in the yellow. I think it's a great look for him. But also, just the playmaking that the Lakers get with Luka on the floor now, you just can't get that anywhere else. He's one of the top 5 playmakers in the NBA, including LeBron James. And when you have both of them on the court at the same time, magical things are guaranteed to happen almost every single time. And not just them as playmakers, you also have Austin Reeves as well, that's sitting in that 2-guard spot now with Luka on the floor. But he can also run that second unit. We saw that along that first game against the Utah Jazz, where Luka obviously came out early. He's still dealing with injury. LeBron's 40 years old. Can't really play him that much sometimes. But Austin Reeves did a great job distributing the ball, running J.J. Redick's offense to a T, and we really got to see that a bunch. And the offense still looks great too. But then, obviously, you get to have LeBron James out there with his little stints. You get Luka out there with his little stints. And it's just a beautiful recipe for success. Right now, they're sitting at the 5 seed. And I could see them jumping way higher just because of the constant offense that they will have. Obviously, you have to look at the defense side of the ball. Luka is just not known to be that level of a defensive caliber player. But you do have guys like LeBron James, who is still a capable defender. Jackson Hayes, who looked incredible his last 5 games, becoming that starter, knowing that Mark Williams won't be there. He's now back in Charlotte. But I just feel like this team has so much potential to have a big playoff run, especially with all the veteranship they have, the playoff experience, and, of course, the playmaking that Luka brings.
Absolutely. They're going to have the best player on the floor in almost every playoff series. Michael, who do you think the biggest trade deadline addition is going to end up being?
In my opinion, yes, the Luka Doncic trade was incredibly massive, but the other massive trade comes from the Bay Area. From how I see it, the Jimmy Butler trade to the Golden State Warriors was also massive, considering that it changes the entire fortunes of their season. First and foremost, Jimmy Butler needed a change of scenery in the worst way possible. He was upset at Pat Riley because Riley wasn't giving him any superstar to support him in Miami, in particular Damian Lillard. Then he gets fed up with the organization and holds in. He's still with the team, then holds in. And then at one point, he wanted to go to the Phoenix Suns, but Pat Riley said, nope, you're going to Golden State. And from how I see it, so far through the first 4 games that Butler has played with the Warriors, they're 3-1, and a few things jump out to me. First of all, Stephen Curry does not have to do everything basically on his own. Yes, he's going to be 37 next month, and yes, he's still producing at an elite level. But he needs another star player to complement him, and Butler is that guy. And now you also have Quentin Post coming out of nowhere to become their starting center. He can beat you with the 3-ball. Brandon Podziemski has been inconsistent, but as of late, he's starting to turn it on. Buddy Hield, same thing. He's playing like he did in the first part of the season. The Warriors' biggest enemy to me this season has been themselves. They give up a ton of 3-balls. They're near the top of the league in most turnovers committed, and they have led the league in double-digit blown leads with 13. That was not good at any portion of the season. And now that Butler's on board, who is a tremendous defender and adds several elements of clutchness to his game, this could be a team that I don't know if they'll get out of the play-in positioning, but they will certainly make a push to try and get the 6th seed.
Absolutely, and we saw with that extension, they're trying to extend this window beyond this year and maybe keep it open for a couple more years. But obviously, teams make these additions at the deadline to try and make their teams better and as a little bit of insurance in case some players get worse. But over the course of the season, it's not just players, but it's teams getting worse, sometimes right out of the All-Star break. Who do you think one of those teams is going to be this year? Michael, I'll start with you on this one.
At first, I thought it was going to be the Detroit Pistons because they were playing well over their minds in the first half. But when you think about it, in my opinion, I changed my mind. It's the Atlanta Hawks. This is a team that has not adapted to the modern game defensively. They are still one of the worst in the league. They give up 119 a game, and they are bad at defending the three, like most teams that are usually hovering around the play-in situation. And it's only going to get worse for these reasons. DeAndre Hunter was their shining star this year, and they traded him to the Cleveland Cavaliers to help the Cavs in their all-in push. And Jalen Johnson, who also has had a career season, he's out for the rest of the season with a bad shoulder. Trae Young, in my opinion, cannot do it on his own, and they're going to need the depth and their prospects. I know they had the number 1 overall pick last year, but they cannot keep getting away with being on the fringes of mediocrity, especially in an Eastern Conference that any team who is usually in the 7 or 8 spot has a chance of taking the 1st or 2nd seed in the conference to the limit in the playoff series, as we've seen over the last few years. Absolutely.
Alec, what about you? Who do you think the fall-off team is going to be?
I'm a little bit worried about the Sacramento Kings. You know, you just traded your star player in De'Aaron Fox for, who's on the screen here, in Zach LaVine. And obviously, Zach, he's an incredible scorer. Same thing with Domantas Sabonis, same thing with DeMar DeRozan. But you got to wonder, where's that defense going to come from? I really don't know where it's really going to come from, because you look at a guy like Malik Monk, he's running the point guard for them now, averaging 6 assists. Even the playmaking is not that great coming from there. That's 25th in the NBA. They're a bottom 5 defensive team already as it is before Zach LaVine was even on the team. And Keegan Murray really hasn't turned into anything besides really a prototype stretch 4. I don't know how long he's going to be a starter for in the NBA. Sabonis can get you those rebounds, but he's not known as some big defensive anchor, so that really does worry me with this team very short term. Right now they're sitting at the 9 seed in the Western Conference, but it's so competitive. Any team can jump from time to time. And I just get worried because there's 2 teams below them that are very competitive. You look at the Phoenix Suns. Obviously, things aren't going great right now in the locker room, but when you have Kevin Durant and Devin Booker on the same team, you're due for a couple wins any given night. And then also below them is the San Antonio Spurs. They just acquired De'Aaron Fox, and that duo with him and Victor Wembanyama just looks super scary. And I would take both of them right now over the Kings and how they look. Mike Brown has a lot to deal with.
Absolutely. Well, Mike Brown got fired earlier this year. Kings went on a bit of a run, but we'll have to see how things can play out there. But we don't want to talk about teams that are going to the play-in. We want to talk about teams that are going to go to the finals and teams that are going to be on the verge of the Larry O'Brien Trophy. Alec, who's going to be in that spot at the end of the season?
I think coming out of the East, I don't really see another team coming out besides the Boston Celtics. I mean, they just look incredible every single year. I mean, they had that little skid in the beginning of January. That doesn't faze me at all. That happens every year with the Celtics. We've seen this from time to time. But when you look at that team, Drew Holiday, Derek White, Jason Tatum, Jaylen Brown, Kristaps Porzingis, that is the best 5 the NBA has to offer. But not only do they have the best 5, they have the 6th man of the year on their bench in Payton Pritchard, who has been on fire this season. I mean, the depth is there. Sam Hauser's well off the bench. Al Horford can do great things on any given night. Neemias Queta is off the bench too with Luke Cornett. I mean, this team is a star-studded from top to bottom. They can play defense on any given night. Tatum can go and get you 40 any single night. So can Jaylen Brown. So can Drew Holiday if he needs to. He was a 20-point-per-game All-Star not too long ago. And Derek White, I mean, he's just my favorite player. 3-and-D guy, can get you a bucket as well. And then the Nuggets, when you have the best player in the NBA on your team, you are almost guaranteed to go to the finals every single time, unless you obviously come across a red-hot Anthony Edwards, which can happen to anyone. But Michael Porter Jr. looks great right now. Christian Braun looks incredible as well. Jamal Murray's finally playing productive basketball. And Russell Westbrook has finally revitalized his career. So I think this team can really beat almost anyone else in a 7-game series in the West. Obviously, you have to worry about the Thunder, but I really like their chances.
Absolutely. Michael, what does the finals look like to you?
Not so fast, Alec. In my opinion, the finals matchup to me is a matchup that the NBA front office would dread because it's not 2 big market teams and they're not super teams. But in my opinion, it would be great. It would be great theater because both of these teams are incredibly likable and have players who are destined for a championship. And those being the Cleveland Cavaliers and the Oklahoma City Thunder. Every time I look at the Cavaliers, I get flashbacks to the 2015 Warriors. A new coach bringing in an identity that helps the team grow as players and as in terms of experience. A record start to the season, rolling out 2 solid lineups on every given night. 3 players who can be the best player on the court at any given day. And not to mention the DeAndre Hunter trade only made them stronger. You have Donovan Mitchell, Darius Garland, and Evan Mobley putting up near 20 points a game. You have one of the best defenses in the league with Mobley, Jared Allen, and now Hunter on board. And their bench is among one of the best in the league, especially at shooting. The only player that's really struggled off their bench is Dean Wade, and I expect him to turn it around very quickly. As for the Thunder, boy, oh boy. If I thought their team last year was really good, this year's team is even better. Yes, Shai Gilgeous-Alexander is putting up an MVP caliber season, but Jalen Williams averaging 21 a game and being a threat to score every time he touches the ball is also a major factor. And that's not including Chet Holmgren and probably the deepest bench in the Western Conference. The thing I like about both these teams is that it's not about one particular guy, even though Mitchell and SGA are as great as they are. It's about a chorus of players who have the ability to rise to the moment. And even though both of them lack deep playoff experience, it would not surprise me if they shed every single past narrative placed upon them over the course of the playoffs this year.
Absolutely. The NBA season returns to action Wednesday as the Lakers take on the Hornets, and we will see how our predictions age. For Michael Hession and Alec Brown, I'm Nate Johns. Thank you so much for tuning into this edition of Penn State Sports Night, and have a great night.
Hey everybody, thanks for tuning in to this edition of Penn State Sports Night.
For more content like this and so much more, make sure you subscribe to our YouTube channel and follow us on Instagram, TikTok, and X. For everyone here at Penn State Sports Night,
We are
Penn State Sports Night.